So welcome everybody. This is the July edition of the GOSH Community Call. I'm really excited to be able to introduce Alex Carrillo, who I've been working with to coordinate a time for him to present his research. Alex, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you because I know that you have a rich presentation lined up for us. So feel free to take things away and I'll be here if you need some help.
Okay, thank you very much, Kanaika. Okay, thank everyone for coming. I'm glad to be here and see you here. So I'm going to present briefly what's some kind of work that we have been for developing hardware here in Yucatan. We're applying these techniques for agriculture and agroecological things. So I'm going to present two projects related of hardware and open source hardware and software. So the project is called Pitaya, Proyecto Pitaya. And the first hardware I want to present you is the multispectral camera. So the multispectral camera is a special camera that is used to know what's the health of the vegetation in the crops or in the agriculture. So I decided for a project in the engineering to build this camera, and I was looking for it was too cheap and open source and disposable. So this is one example of how it can see in the drone, and this is the prototype of the camera in his case. So it works just because of the ¿cómo se llaman plantas? The seeds. It has its mechanical way of being. It's altered for the light. I mean, I am going to see it well. Okay. The light reflects in the plants because of the different components that it has in there. So briefly, it's something like this. The plant have a special structure. I don't know how to say in English, but these different materials reflect the light in different way. So the main part here of the camera is that the light came into the plant, and then some part of the light it's absorbed for the plant for making the photosynthesis. That is for, mainly the blue and the green. Some green is also reflected, but the red is not used for the photosynthesis, or and the infrared is neither. So in the I don't know if you can see it well, but in the upper left part, we can see how the light reflects in the plant. So we can see that the green is more reflect and the infrared is very much more reflected, and the blue and the red is absorbed. So this is the mechanical or physical principles that is going to allow us to construct this camera. So the hardware that I decided to use for this is the Raspberry Pi. This is a project that is made for students for learning computation science, and it's very open source, and because it has a lot of connectivity with a lot of other hardwares and a lot of functionalities. So I decided that this could be a very good hardware. So we can program here and put the sensor here and make projects starting with this computer. So I will need some cameras. These are three of the different cameras that that are from the Raspberry project, and we start to using this 5 megapixels camera, and then it was released the second version that is more resolution, 8 megapixels, and then this one the 8 megapixels, and it also sees light in night. I mean, it looks the lights in infrared, so we can see the infrared with that camera. Okay, so the main goal here with these cameras was to see these three different colors that we see in our daily life, that is blue, green, and red, and the mix of those. So as we discussed earlier, we can see that that the reflection, these lines are representing the reflection of all the light that came from the sun. So in this blue, green, and red part, it represents that colors, and we can see here how the green is the more reflected. And in this curve, we see that the infrared that is represented with this bar is very much more reflected than the red, because the red is absorbed. So because of this difference, we can be able to distinguish materials. For example, in this image, we can see that one curve represents the health vegetation, and the other curve here represents the ill or sick vegetation. And for example, this brown line here represents just the ground. So if our sensors are capable to distinguish in these red colors, we can be able to detect some photosynthetic effects. So that was our goal of this camera. So we take these open source cameras, and we saw, they are make with this sensor that is in the down part here, a very small sensor. And that sensor had this, is called a Bayer filter. This Bayer filter, it separates the light in the different colors to the sensor can know which color is the light that it is reflecting. So we have a sensitive matrix for the red, a sensitive matrix for the green, and another for the blue, and the filter of that. So the goal here was to dedicate all of the sensors of this camera to one single color instead of 3 colors. We want to use 4 cameras and destinate each one for one channel, and well, that was one part of the project. So after that, we take off that filters. We take off the infrared filters and the Bayer filters, and then we put these other filters that this represent a red filter that just allow to pass the red light. And this one represents the infrared filter that just allow to pass the infrared light. So here down, we represent in gray all of the solar light that came out to the camera. But because of these 2 filters, the red filter just let pass a little amount of light that is represented in this red graphic here from all the red light. I mean, from all the sunlight that we can hear in the gray color that represent the wavelength, just we are taking the red ones because of the filter, and neither here in the infrared filter. So now that we can see that we have the 2 difference of lights separated with the filters, and we know that the camera is sensitive to this wavelength, so we can process that and see the result. So this is one of the experiments that I was trying, I was proving in the time. At the time, it has a screen there, and here's one of the cameras. Here's the case. This is sticked. So I was testing that. And the main functionality is that we take the photos with the camera, then we can separate all the bands of the colors and use that. Well, we have to make some calibration of the images, but all the process is that then we process the images, and then we calculate this that we are looking for, that is called NDVI, vegetation index. And well, the idea here was that the processed images can get to the agricultor so he can see the results of the analysis in his cell phone. So here is some examples of how it works, the system. For example, this is a test that I make in the house, and we can see some plants here and some ground, a chair here, and a little house of a dog. Okay, so the system, what the system does is that it takes a comparison. I forgot to put the mathematical formula here, but it takes the difference into red and infrared, and he calculated that index that is called the NDVI that I called earlier. So the result of the index, NDVI index, is represented in the new images, in the new image. So this image here represents the photosynthesis effect. So we can here see that all the more green represents the more photosynthesis and activity, and when it turned red, it represents that it's not making photosynthesis. So we can see that for the angle, it's not the very appropriate angle because it's a test, but we can see that in this plant, it works. Then we test another ones like this, that it was a little bit better. The detail here is that these have too much like red in the camera because it has not infrared filter, but the idea, you can see it here. So the result here is that we can see also a photo of the garden, and we can see how all the green things are effectively things that are making photosynthesis. So, well, we have we test this with the results with the spectrometer, and we can corroborate the result that we get here to see that the camera is actually working well, and comparing with the commercial cameras. So we get a very equivalence of those systems, so we can validate that first project, that is the multispectral camera for agriculture, and to know if there's a disease in the plant, knowing their change of their rate of photosynthesis. And the other project that I want to present you is the project that was now that the camera is working, we want to put it in the drone and go to see a lot of agricultural places. All right. So this project was also quickly, we go to with the agricultors there, and we talk with them. We ask them what was their problems in the agriculture, their mainly problems, and what do they want to fix? What can we help them to improve with our technologies? So we talk with them there, and they told us that this was their major problem. This is the plant of maize, and it has these little worms that a mob came flying and then put their eggs there, and the eggs then start to eat all the plant. So the plants have a lot of holes. The central leaves are dying, so the plants die, and it cannot grow well. So they lost their plants when they are also young. So we check that how can we help them with these technologies. So we start now we are not focused this mainly in the NDV camera that I mentioned earlier, but here we are going to use another technique that is more from software, that is called neural networks, or convolutional neural network. So this one represents a normal neural network, and this one is a convolutional neural network. We're not going to explain or talk about how does this function, but it's just we have to have the idea that this is a mathematical computational structure that we are going to train for detect all of the things that we are interested in, so we can make the system for detecting. All right, so this is a representation of what is this here doing. So this is the convolutional process, and the thing that we want to get is the train that is represented for something like this, but here. This kind of kernels here in blue is going to learn some characteristics of the objects that we are training with. So the first kernels are going to be simple, like lines or curves or colors. Then more complicated ones in an upper levels are going to be like a little bit more complex And the last ones are mainly object. So, well, that's the process that we make in the training by taking a lot of images and processing it to train the model. So we go to with the agricultors, we take a lot of images from the drone, and then we make a manual registration here of where was the plant so that has a disease, and we classificated each one with a number from 1 to 3, 1, 2, or 3, representing how is it the damage. All right. So this is going to be our reference to see if our model is working good or not. So the main process here is just for the training is you have to take all of the images that I said before, and we divide it into these more little images, and then we have to make the manual etiquetation. The manual etiqueted of the plants and the disease. So we checked each one of we prepare the database for having just the plants, and then we make that process. So in this other image, we can see the result of the software already trained. So here's, for example, one image of the input, and the system detects all of the plants that are it detects the corn or the maize plants, and it detects the leaves that are with problems, and it's make it with a lot of confidence, 80% or 90%, and we can compare it with the training, and the box is also the same. It's mainly almost the same, and the other segmentation is very close. All right, this is just another example. How this in the left hand is the handmade, and in the right hand is the one that is predicted for our model. So our model can, if you see the difference between left and right, you can see that it's very close, the two things, the box and the segmentation part. It means that it's very precise in find where is the plants and where is the disease. It just have a little bit difference in the segmentation part, but it's very well done. And we take the metrics of this. We don't know present the mathematical metrics, just the visual results. And this is one of the final result that we can take of this process. So this is a very it's like a big ground part. We can see this is like 20 meters more or less of and the dimensions is related to like this. You can like we can see in the down part the metric reference. So this is an example of if we put together all the images that are already detected, but this could be very much bigger. It just depends of where we fly the drone. So we can quickly fly a lot of terrain and quickly detect all of the damages that we can see before. All right, so that was the main projects that I want to present you today. And this is the next part. So I was talking before with Jamaica that I was just finishing this project, and I'm going to start the new project. So the new project here is that now that we have the multispectral cameras, and now that we have the system that can make the analysis of the RGB images from the terrain, we want now to make these projects going to the people that are going to use it, and I mean the people in the agriculture. the agricultors. So we are now in collaboration with some investigations centers here in Yucatan to collaborate, to seek for collaboration, and we are the main of this part of the project is involve the students and the agricultors in the development of this hardware. So we focus on this drone, the parts that is open source. I use this in the drone. The black drone is a solo. Is an old drone that is not more a building now. It's not well. We are going to use the open source one. So the project is to get a lot of people that are interested in these kind of techniques and develop together with the students and with the research centers drones for scientific goals. For example, in agriculture, or someone that are making studies in the sea or in other scientific researches that also use drones for their analysis. So at this part, I have collaborated with these developers or students in the university that are working on created projects like this. It's called the CANSAT. It's an experiment for make like little satellites. And I was working with the university to help them to make their test in their CANSAT. We are looking for sources of materials or economics that could help us to put these projects in action and to can help other students for helping us to for one, develop the hardware projects, make it better, and make it to this can get to the people that really need it. So so in this part of the project where we are here, we have developed some technologies, we have some inertia, and we are inviting to other people that want to collaborate with us. Also students, if they want to get more involved in this kind of hardware developments. And we are going to start to making activities to get resources for this, like we're going to make some computer vision courses if for getting found for get more hardware and make these projects can get more far. Okay, so I hope you find this interesting. Just it was the presentation of this. This is my last diapo. I finish from here. And if someone has some question or something, someone want to say something, I can we can check if someone have any question. What do you think, Jamaica?
I thought that was fabulous and so interesting. I have a couple of questions, but I want to make sure that other people have a chance to ask theirs and to engage. So I'm going to leave the floor open for a few seconds.
I hope that my English was not very, I hope it was more fluently, but I hope that you can understand what I said.
I feel like I understood everything very well. And you certainly spoke in better English than I would be able to do in Spanish, that's for sure. I'm going to ask some of my questions, but I'd like to preface this by saying that if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to say, please feel free to come off mute and just interrupt me if you'd like, or raise your hand. But one of the things that really impressed me in learning about all that you're doing is the enormous and really diverse skill set that is needed to do the work that you do. You're teaching and you're working with cameras and you're doing computational work, and there's biology, and there's also, I don't know the word for it, but understanding the different spectra of light. I mean, that's really a very broad, really impressive skill set that you have in order to do the work that you do. And I wonder how you might recommend to other people who want to get involved and do similar work as yours, but who might not have such a broad reach as you have, where and how they might get started.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. It is very interesting that it's really kind of very interesting. I find okay, I'm gonna start again. I like to find interesting things. So when I find something interesting, I keep going on that. So in one part, it allows me to study science. I study physics, engineering, and then I want to that I learned there could be able to I could be able to apply it. But I realize that sometimes some of other physics or some other friends of mine, sometimes they get troubled because they specialize in something that they need a lot of equipment or a lot of money for have a laboratory or the equipment and the needed equipment. So in my case, I focus on how can I get cool results that could be applied, but without needing so much expensive materials or some or very different difficult things to get. So that's why I try to focus in enjoying the finding interesting things and try to see how can I get involved in that. So that's my recommendation of to the people to want to get involved in this kind of techniques. First is that I think that they have to find it very interesting and very like joyful, because in these projects sometimes we have to be a lot of hours in something and a lot of weeks and months and sometimes years. So it has to be something that we find passion on it, that we feel that it can be useful for the people and that we believe in it. So I try to do that, and also try to do it in not very expensive way. So that's why I'm working in this project. So I invite the people, if they are close here in Merida, that we can put in contact, or if there are people in other places, so they can find these groups like in Gosh or other, for example, Fab Labs or other makerspace that are that they go together for make some these kinds of developments, because always I think it's more joyful to work in teams and in interesting topics. So do collaborations, do science.
I saw somebody turn their camera on. If that means that there's a question from the crowd, I can certainly hold back for a second.
I have no questions. I'm just popping in to say hi and listen.
Hello. It's hard to reference people directly because everybody is logged in as Alejandro. So we have 5 people dialed in with the same name here. I had another question, which is if you're documenting your work so that it can, you mentioned that it was open source. I was wondering if it was available anywhere that people could go and download code or access designs.
Okay, so it's not ready yet. So the first, I start the second project just after finish the first one, and I'm just finished. So I'm going to start doing that. I have it, but I haven't uploaded it yet. I have shared it with the Gosh community and with other development communities, but I have to make better documentation of it. In the project, the Pitaya project, there's gonna be the links of all the projects, and we are going to start to uploading the correct documentation in the way that we can reproduce it.
Great. I know that I come from an information science background, and so documentation is one of the things that we're trained to worry about. And I know that it can take sometimes as long as the project itself. So I appreciate how much work is involved in properly documenting something. One final question, because we still have one more presentation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then just one quick question, which is that when you and I were planning this session, you mentioned that you were looking for people to collaborate with and potential partners. I wonder if you wanted to make a pitch, if there was any, particular skill set or anybody with any, particular focus or background that would be particularly helpful to advance your work.
Yes, it could be great. Yes, I want to present it to people that are interested in this, and looking for collaborations. We are now closing a new chapter and open this part of the year, like wondering what activities we could have. So I will be grateful for presenting or pitching to another people and invite anyone to want to join us or know a little bit more that also can put in contact.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And now I am going to present briefly the next speaker, and she is Sabina Escovedo. She's going to talk about another development of clean air. So, well, I said briefly, so I make it briefly. Please, Sabina, if you want to present you a little bit other points, please go ahead. So, welcome, Sabina. Hi, Sabina.
Alex, you might need to stop sharing your screen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to present her presentation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait a second, please.
Guys, do you hear me now? I am having technical problems. Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Because I can't know, my computer is like bugged, so I don't know if it's going well. Okay. So are you gonna share, Alex, or I share the presentation?
I'm gonna share. Just let me a second. I'm opening. If you want to share it, you have quickly. You also
Okay,
can.
because if not, I can share it too. I have it right here.
Okay. So
Or
you can. Okay, I can see it now. I'm gonna share it.
si la pones tú.
Sí. Está. Just a sec.
Okay.
Nice start.
And yes, the other person logged as Alejandro is our friend Sol. So now we will present you our starting. This is not a done project. This is more a work in progress, and so we are starting this project. So it's a cleaner club here in Yucatan, where three of us live. Next one, please. Wait, the index. So it's gonna be very brief. We're gonna talk about indoor air quality, what kind of illness it can bring us, and also what kind of symptoms we can have if the dioxide is too high, and how tech can help us, and like what we are meaning to do, and our future goals. Next one, please. So this is the three of us. So Alex and I, we are respectively a physics engineer, and I am a biologist. And Sol is an artist. I don't know, Sol, if you want to present yourself.
Yeah, I can do that. So my name is Sol. I actually came to Yucatan as a medical refugee as a result of getting COVID in a poor air environment, which gave me long COVID, and I lost everything. I lost my job, my home. I had a couple months to decide if I become homeless again, which is common in the United States. I chose instead to sell what little I had and take a risk and try to get to somewhere where I could survive for a while and had better medical care. So that's what brought me here. And 3.5 years later, I still have long COVID. I've improved significantly, but it's still a very debilitating condition that we see thousands of people added to this community on a monthly basis who didn't know that masking could have prevented this, or having something like this, a Corsi Rosenthal box, which I built and can show everybody how to build for very cheaply, could have prevented. So, I really want to stop this outcome from happening to other people, because I don't think people understand the stakes of what it means to get sick and lose everything, and the difficulty that comes with that. And I know of other people in Merida, one of which is a 20-year-old kid who is completely housebound as a result of long COVID. It's a very destructive disease with no real treatment. There's not even a good understanding of what causes it. So, that's one of many reasons that clean air is super important, but they were also talking about carbon dioxide, which is a huge concern as well, because if there's high amounts of carbon dioxide in your environment, it causes drowsiness and a lot of other cognitive issues, which make it very difficult to focus and stay awake and be productive in a work or school environment. So I think that clean air is kind of like the new hand washing. Like, we realized, like, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that, hey, we need to be washing our hands because we can't just walk around with stuff all over our hands and then touch stuff and expect to not get sick. Well, now we have technology that shows us how important clean air is and how instrumental it is in preventing not only current disability, but future disability. So I think it's super important, and the more information people have on this subject, the better off they're going to be. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Sol. So that's the three of us are very worried about the air quality. We are very worried about COVID and also other illnesses. Like now, there's avian flu. There's in Mexico. I don't know how you say tos ferina, but like a very heavy cough that has been going around. So there are a lot of illnesses that travel through airborne methods. So that's why we think cleaning air is so important. So next slide, please, Alex. Okay, so indoor air is made of a lot of stuff. So it's not just oxygen and carbon dioxide or stuff. There are a lot of things, and it's gonna depend of even the kind of painting you have, the kind of materials your furniture is made of, and a lot of things. But there are some things that are biological, like microbes, that could be virus, bacteria, molds. Molds are super dangerous for people, and that can really make diseases very fast. I'm not saying it's not important to like check the materials of the things we get, but that it won't get cleaned. Like if, for example, you have some painting that has lead, you won't clean it with an air filter. But all kinds of microbes, yes, and also like smells. Like for example, if a neighbor smokes or something, an air filter can take that kind of particles and smells. Also in places that have fires, air filters can help clean the air in those cases too. Next slide, please. Alex, next slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so here is just a quick slide about illness in general. So I put a little image of aerosols and droplets, because that, I think it's not that important to determine, because both of them, well, droplets is important also to wipe everything with, like, clean like normal we do. But the an air filter will clean like both droplets and aerosols particles. So that's really interesting, because all the disease you can see at your right are transmitted through one of these two forms, and it's a lot of disease. Like just influenza, COVID, it makes for maybe I don't know, 70% maybe of respiratory stuff that you'll find after in hospitals and things. And at the bottom is this slide is of this week in Mexico. Mexico is very bad at counting the cases, because they almost don't test at hospitals or clinics. It's very expensive to find tests in pharmacy, and it's a PCR, for example, is super expensive. So we don't really have good tests. But one thing I noticed in the last weeks that got me very worried is that the childs, like from 1 to 4 years, are the ones getting more hospitalized now. Is this little the second bar, it says 1 to 4. So kids are very hard to get masks on and stuff. So I think that's why it's very important not only to promote the use of masks, but also to think about people that cannot mask, like childs or babies. And that's why I think it's super important to clean the air, like with filters and opening the windows and stuff. And we have also a little bit about COVID, about long COVID, but maybe Sol would like to tell us more about long COVID.
Yeah, happy to do that. So long COVID is the #1 chronic illness in children in the United States now. It just surpassed asthma. So, and I know that for very small babies, it's very difficult for them to mask, but I did live in China for 2 years, and it's very common, but even before SARS-2, it was very common for young kids to mask there, especially in school. Like you walk around the city, a good 20 to 30% were already masked at any given time, both for pollution, but also for illness. So this is incredibly important, because these kids don't have any voice to protect themselves. They don't know what's happening to them. A lot of times, I mean, because there's no real concrete treatments for long COVID or diagnostic criteria yet, it takes them a long time to even get diagnosed. Kids get labeled as lazy or depressed or all these other things before people even consider long COVID, which again is the #1 chronic illness in children in the United States now. So it's definitely affecting kids. It's also affecting the elderly and people that just go to the hospital. On average, 10% of hospital infections with COVID, which is the easiest place to get COVID right now, sadly, 10% of those result in death. Okay, so that's shameful that people are going to the hospital to get treatment and then they die from trying to get treatment. Like, I don't know if y'all have watched the Star Wars trilogy, but one of the actors from Star Wars just went to the hospital with a broken arm to seek treatment, and he died there from COVID. And this was literally just in the last couple of weeks. Like, that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening, that people go somewhere for treatment and then come away losing their lives from that. So this is really an all-encompassing problem. And it's still a problem here in Merida, in Mexico, even though we're not hearing about it. This last winter, my sister, who's local, she got sick for a month straight. So did another friend of mine who's a public health official, got sick for a month with a mystery respiratory illness that had them dealing with severe fatigue. And my neighbor and all her children got sick with this same mystery respiratory illness, and they all ended up getting pneumonia. When I told them that wearing a mask could help them and protect them and could prevent this in the future, my neighbor was very open to that and said that she has all her children wearing a mask now. So people are willing to do this if they have the proper information. I really think that education is really important, but if people don't know that something is happening or how to deal with it, they're not going to have the tools to keep themselves safe and keep their families safe. So I think that it's really important to recognize that this is something that's still happening. It's just because we're not talking about it or we're not hearing about it and it's getting labeled as things like, you know, random strokes or random heart attacks and people that are 30 years old. Long-term chronic fatigue syndrome, even though it's getting misdiagnosed as that, the reality is that a lot of these are the result of COVID. And the only way that we're going to ever combat this is through clean air. You know, filters like a Corsi Rosenthal box or HEPA filters or things like that are awesome. And I think we really need to get those tools to people so that they know how to do that. And then also, I know that Sabina and I are working on a mask block here in Merida so that we can hand out masks to high-risk workers and potentially schools, like whoever is really receptive to that information. Because this is going to keep happening. It's estimated that there are tens of millions of people with long COVID at this point. COVID itself killed upwards of 35 million people, and it's still killing. Because like I said, I'm in long COVID circles, and every day we have people come in going, wow, I just got COVID. I have no energy. I can't function. I can't think. I have severe memory loss, which I experienced, by the way, with my long COVID. I was having trouble thinking and remembering words, which is probably one of the scariest things that can possibly happen to a person. There's no resources for you if you get this disease. Nobody is going to come and help you really, except other people in the long COVID community, because doctors don't know what to do with it. So prevention is so important, so important.
So allow me, if you would, I just wanted to make a note that we are 2 minutes before the top of the hour. So we will need to, unfortunately, and I hate to say this given the gravity of the content, but we're running short on time.
Okay, well, I'll just stop there then. Oh, Sabina, you're muted.
Yes, thank you. Oh, Sabina, it looks like you're still muted.
Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, so I will go quickly, and maybe in another occasion we can talk more about COVID. So can you change the slide? That's just to show that a lot of CO2, it's bad for head and other stuff. It can give you headaches. So tech can help us with the CO2 detectors that could tell people like, okay, it's time to open the windows because it's above X level. And as Sol showed, the one she did, Corsi Rosenthal boxes or other kind of filters. Next one, please. So what we are looking for here in Gosh is hardware. If you can help us with like CO2 detectors or stuff like that, or filters, so we can build our own, and also tech and science consultation. Like for example, to making the CO2 detectors, calibrating them can be hard. So if some of you have already done it, that would be awesome. And you can go directly to the last one, like future projects, because I think the time is done, right? Okay, so quickly, we want to do a case study at Simvestab, which is my school. So we have auditories, classrooms, and labs that we would like to see how it affects in the illness people get if we put filters, distribute masks, free masks, and also give sensibilization classes. And so that would be like a first case study, but next slide, please. With those results, we could do our future goals. Alex, next slide, please. ¿Puedes cambiar de diapo, Alex? Well, the future projects we would want is to replicate that in other well, schools, kindergartens, factories, and also we would be very open to work with more maybe clinics, dentists, or people that are health providers. And also a future goal would be to check with lawyers for see if we can do some lobbying to legislate so clean air is a part of the constitution in Mexico, or at least in the laws in Yucatan. So that is all.
I'm trying to do too many things at once over here. One of them is trying to find the new place for the reactions so I can give the clapping hands, but I can't find them. So, oh, I just found them actually, but I'll give you the real ones instead. Thank you. And I'm so sorry that we did run out of time because this is such an important topic. And you're, another thing that stood out to me throughout this whole presentation is the extent to which your collective work is grounded in the needs of your community. That's something that I really appreciate, that I imagine our audience here probably really appreciates as well. And you're just doing such important work. And I am so sorry that we ran out of time, but I want to thank everybody, Sol, Sabina, Alex, for joining us. We just got a note in the chat that says this was great. I agree, it really was. Thank you, Alex, for your flexibility in getting this scheduled. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to stop recording now because that's something that I always forget to do.